Hi, I'm Pastor Tish Webb, and this is Spiritual Warfare.
When the shadows try to gather and the whispers speak of doubt, when the walls feel so much higher and there's no easy way out, we remember who has called us, we remember who has claimed the victory is already won by the power in his name. The Lord is a warrior, the Lord is his name.
Well, here we are. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We're going to talk about something very special, and that is we are in a miracle season. I am hearing so many testimonies of what God is doing. It is exciting, and I want you to be just as excited, because we're going to talk about how do I prepare for this miracle season in order to advance in it, okay? So let's look at, many times we get in a habit of looking at life how we have in the past. So I want to remind you that new levels require changes, because the old ways will keep trying to pull us back to our thinking as we always have. I even said the other day, stop and make yourself think of 3 things that have been a miracle in the last few days, especially we were talking about during Thanksgiving. Well, I was having a text conversation with somebody the other day, and they out of the blue started saying, well, I'm having this going on and that's going on. And, you can tell there was a lot of things that they were concerned and worried about. And then all of a sudden, they turned into the miracle vision of what is going right. And they said, I just left a family member, and I realized that they are still on the sober commitment that they had made. And that was one. And then as you start thinking of the things that are right, instead of focusing on the things that aren't, because during any season, and especially during a celebratory season, the things are going to start happening to try to get you away from the joy, which is your power, and thinking of what's not right. If you listen to my past podcasts, especially last week and the week before, we talked about being overcoming. We are major overcomers, courageous. God has made a way for us. And many times we don't think that way because the old ways keep pulling us back. And as we go into new levels, maybe we've had a prophetic word and we think, it's just automatically going to happen. No, we have to change our way of looking at everything and start moving into these seasons of miracles, the seasons of the prophetic word that is coming forth upon your life. We have to make a way for it to come in. If you're going to have a baby, a new child in your family, you start making a way for it to come in. You start changing things in your home. You start changing things in your schedule. You start changing things even in the clothing you wear. As a family member, we remind ourselves, I can't wear something that's going to itch the child's skin when I'm holding it. I've got to remember to not put on certain kinds of jewelry that could get tangled up in the child. I know some people don't think that way because you've never had a child, but anything new coming at you. Okay, let's talk about you getting a new car. That's pretty non-gender. Okay, I've got to get a new car. But then I didn't think about how am I going to protect my car from the weather. I haven't thought about how am I going to keep my car from, marauders in the neighborhood trying to damage my car. Or even, this is a funny one, even going to visit a friend and their friendly dog is jumping up on the side of your car, scratching it. These are kinds of things we don't think about when we're getting a blessing. We just think, I got this, breakthrough. And I know those kind of seem like silly examples, but we have to pull the supernatural down into the natural, into a way of thinking. I've got to change my thinking in order to enhance the blessing that I've received. All right? So we're going to carry this mindset into this new level. And I'm going to talk about some miracles that happened this week. We had one give a testimony Sunday in that after prayer, he received a miracle from the Lord of the nerves in his face had been damaged since a surgery for many years. And it was always painful to touch this side or wash his skin on this side of his face. And the miracle was he was healed. And he realized when he started washing his face that morning, the same old pain wasn't there anymore. See, it's a new season, a new level of blessing and benefit. So I had another testimony come in. And, I said before Thanksgiving, start watching for miracles. And this testimony was, well, I was at a family gathering. And of course, there were some relatives and things going on that I thought was going to be a negative, but it wasn't. I went ahead and this person made a step of faith to hug a family member that had been very, let's say, negative and aggressively negative against them. But they hugged them, and immediately this family member started to weep and cry. Breakthrough comes when we start expecting miracles, start looking for them. Another one, prayer here during this weekend of services, a lady her knee was healed. And her husband was giving testimony of that as well as she was giving testimony. She then called her grandchildren, had them bring their friends and show up at church that Sunday after that mighty miracle. And so you had, that miracle spread to 4 more people to hear the goodness of God, to hear about the goodness of God. So, I also want to talk about rooting yourself for miracles. The people who will come in, you'll have special meetings in the church, and they'll all come and they'll want a prophetic word, or they'll want a healing, or they'll want, something that is encouraging, which is a positive, okay? But why don't you root there? Why don't you plant your roots in that church instead of, oh, that's the church I go to when I need a miracle? We get this all the time. We get people that call, can your church pray? Well, why don't you get yourself rooted in a church that you've seen miracles in, that you see faith in? Instead of, well, I go to this church because, that's where that's where my son goes to church. Well, I go to that church because, my friend is on the praise team. But you need a miracle? Get rooted. Get rooted where there's faith. Get rooted where there are miracles. And you will watch a garden of miracles happen in your life. That seems normal, common sense. But many times people don't use common sense. And it has to be spoken over them. We're going to talk about things spoken. I heard this weekend very much about shout. Jericho had a victory because of shout. And there's not just one example of shout bringing victory. We should start being very much more aggressive, bold, and loud about things that are happening, that are miracles, that are victorious. You can go into a store, you can get ready to check out. What'll happen? Cashier start telling you all the things that's going wrong in her life. Maybe the person behind you starts telling you their sad story. Many times that's a place for you to step in to giving them your testimony. Even asking, can I pray with you? Do you mind? Most of the time they're going, we did this the other night when we were out getting a meal. And we always leave a good tip. But then after I'd already left the tip, so she doesn't have to respond because she's looking for a tip. I already left the tip. She saw it. Then I said, you know what? I love to pray for people. Do you have anything that you need prayer about in this season and time? And she goes, oh, that's wonderful. Yes. And she gave me a prayer request. And we immediately started praying right then. I didn't wait and say, okay, I'm going to write that down and pray at church about it. No, I prayed right then. Do this. Start watching for miracles to happen. What happens also, it gets you out of a place of feeling like nothing's happening. Feeling like, what is my purpose? Start aggressively walking in a purpose. Start using faith daily, moment by moment, and start watching your whole life change into a place of miracles. I mean, in the last year when we started doing the fishes and loaves and praying for people out in the community, just in a few months, we prayed for over 500 people. Just in a few months, just doing that. And it wasn't everybody here doing it. We all, those that felt they would do it, they did it. So in Daniel 3, There's the story of the three Hebrew children. And you'll probably see some of the scriptures here. The story is, a lot of people don't even know the stories. I got a text message and then a phone call last night. Who is this person? And it was a biblical character. I don't know. And then I explained who they were. And then I named another biblical person in the context of who this person was. Well, who's that person? But this person says, I'm reading my Bible. I'm praying every day. But apparently you're not. Really, you need to get a children's Bible book and start learning the lessons of the Old Testament. They will encourage you, and the lessons of the New Testament. So anyway, three Hebrew children, Daniel 3. Go read it. You need to read it after this. Don't just take my word for it, okay? So the miracle was they went through hell. And when they went through hell, they came out on the other side, and they didn't even smell like smoke. So the thing that the Bible is trying to get across to you is there are going to be problems, there are going to be challenges, but there's always a miracle in that. You're going to come through that hell, you're going to come into a miracle. So whenever it starts, the thing coming against you, start rejoicing, start praising, let out a shout, let the scriptures come out of your mouth, and then look for the miracle, because it's coming. And I will explain, real quick about how America hasn't really had to do a lot of praying. We did as a church, because God said, you're going to learn to pray or to survive. And we did. And I want you to know that there was times that things happened in my life I didn't have an answer for. I didn't know why they were happening. All I knew was to keep pushing through scripturally and in prayer. And then I was always taken to a new level of victory, a new miracle, a new place of abundance. So I want to encourage you in this season, look for the miracles, okay? Don't get into this thing of, well, this is not right and that's not happening and I've got to do this, and you get yourself so busy, you don't look for the miracles. And that's where your joy is going to stay complete, in that looking for miracles. Okay, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you the next time. And we're going to talk about something very important to you the next time, and that is giving your way out of poverty.
When the shadows try to gather and the whispers speak of doubt, when the walls feel